Man, I really don't understand why a lot of teachers are teaching, to be honest with you. I guess, I know I don't know. Because, bro, that's something that's very delicate. You gotta, don't get me wrong, I'm sure it's like, it's very hard, it's difficult, to have to so many kids a day like that and going on with the life that we live, have your own personal life, as an adult, a parent. But, man, I just feel like, I don't know, I feel like, because how many teachers did I have from kindergarten all the way to my senior year? How many really only put their hand on my back and say, and told me something different. The other one, they didn't even bother.
Yeah.
They didn't even bother. They're telling me, hey, drop out of school in high school. Oh Lord, drop out of school already. Drop out already, bro. And I'm like, why?
We got another banger for you. We're going straight from the studio, past the boardroom, right to the heart of the community. We are Lazarito's Barbershop with my man Laz, a product of the Miami-Dade public schools, but more importantly, he went up through his high school and built an empire. This is how we do it. Let's go. Drop the beat. Tumba ritmo.
Unlearned Unlimited. Unlearned Unlimited.
How's it going, man?
What's up, champ?
Yeah, how you feeling, man?
Good.
Excited. I'm in your city. Let's go. Listen, I said, let me come and get the best cut from one of the best barbers in Miami.
That's what's up, man. How was the flight?
Oh, it was good, man. It was good. We had a good time, man.
Okay.
Yeah, man. So
Get you fresh.
yeah, we're excited, man. We're gonna talk about some cool stuff. I know we asked a lot of people. We said, where's the best place to get a cut in Hialeah? And everybody said, you gotta go check out Laz's spot.
That's what's up, man.
So listen, while we're talking, man, I want to tell me a little about your story. Let us know the context. Like, what was your journey like through this process? Because when most people see us, they think, well, you just opened up the barbershop, but they don't know you're a Miami-Dade public school kid.
Oh yeah, man. So man, born and raised here, in Hialeah.
Yeah.
My parents came from Cuba in 1980 in the Mariel boat lift.
Oh wow.
Yeah, with my brothers and my sister.
So what's the Mariel boat lift for folks who don't know what that is?
Pretty much, was with the crisis in Cuba and stuff like that, with a big issue that they had. So he opened up. Whoever wanted to flee, whoever wanted to flee the country was.
They were able to come here.
Yeah, were able to come. So they came on a boat, like many others. But so that's how it all started, and then I was born 2 years later.
Oh wow! So you're a Miami kid through and through.
Yeah, yes sir.
So how did you get into this whole barbering thing? Like, was it parents, family?
Well, yeah, man. My mom, she was a beautician.
Oh wow! In Cuba?
No, actually here.
Okay.
She became a beautician here, and I said, man, no. I said, wait a minute. What about if I I could maybe pick up these clippers and do, cut men's hair, And from there, man, I said, hey, Mom, you think you buy me a machine? She was like, for what? I was like, I want to start learning how to cut hair. She was like, for real?
Oh wow!
So bought me a $20 machine and a toothbrush to clean the machine, and it was on from there.
Wait, so let's start from the beginning. So you went to, I know you went to Miami-Dade public schools.
Correct.
Where'd you go to elementary school?
So I actually went down the street because I was born and raised in this same neighborhood.
Okay.
And I went down the street to M.A. Milam.
Okay.
At the time it was M.A. Milam Elementary.
Okay.
And then for middle school I went to Jose Marti Middle School. Okay. Which is about half a mile down to west. And then from there, high school, I ended up graduating from Barber Goldman Senior High.
Okay. So all those schools are in Hialeah, right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So your mom and dad, they lived in this community here?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you have a choice to go to a school, or it was just like this was a school in your neighborhood?
Well, in that time, you weren't able to pick out whatever school you wanted to. It had to be within, the address. You had to live within a certain, a certain distance from that school.
Okay. And mom and dad, how did they adjust when they came here? Like, was this like their community? How did they make it their home?
Oh man, mind you can imagine, coming from another country at 40 years old. They didn't know no English.
Yeah.
So it was it was really rough for them, from what they tell me, and ended up, it was either here, Hialeah, Homestead, you know, they gave them certain options, you know, we ended up, you know, getting them help by Section 8, you know what I'm saying, we come from the projects, you know, here in Hialeah, so, yeah, man, started off there.
So did you always know you wanted to be a barber, or like, what was that process like? What was your journey?
Oh, yeah, like I said, at 13, that's when I said, hey, you know what?
So mom gave you the clippers at 13?
Yeah, from there.
And then you started cleaning, what happened next?
Kept it going. It took me about 2 years, man, to get my first haircut right.
Oh, wow.
Because, man, it's real difficult to cut hair. You know, it's an art. It's another form of art, you know, and it took me about 2 years to get it right. Messing up a lot of my homies, man. You know, so in Spanish we call it.
Yeah, people upset with you a little bit.
Oh yeah, in Spanish we call it cucaracha when they make an error, when they make a mistake, you know. But so yeah, man, and
So when you got to school, did they have like a certification thing they did, or was it like how did they guide you? I mean, were you a perfect student? Like, what was the way that you like, hey, I'm gonna go down and get certified or something like that?
Yeah, because once I graduated from high school, so I would cut hair in the neighborhood, right?
Okay.
But then to be able to, you know, to take it to the next level, I had to go to barber school.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And then from there, once I graduated from high school, I went to barber school, ended up graduating from barber school, and then I was able to start working at, you know, at shops and stuff like that.
So the certification was actually in the school itself?
Correct, at the barber school.
Okay.
At the barber school.
So then what happened next? So then, I mean, think about it. You got, how many shops you got? 1 or 2?
So yeah, we got 2 shops here in the same city.
Okay.
And we're actually working on our 3rd now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then so you end up finishing your certification. You then went out and started your barbershop, right? Did you start your barbershop right away, or?
No, actually, so I've been cutting hair in total for 30 years, right? And then after year number 15 is when I was able to obtain my first shop, which is actually this shop. Okay. You know? And it's the beauty about my story. This shop, that man rest in peace now, but it's the same barber that gave me my first haircut when I was a baby. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Yeah, so then I learned how to cut hair. I learned how to cut hair, and then I would tell him, hey man, I'm learning how to cut hair, man. I want to buy the shop from you one day. And he was like, oh yeah, I'll let you know. I said, hey, can you promise me something? He's like, what's that? I said, the day that you don't want the shop anymore and you're willing, you know, that you want to retire, is it okay? You know, at least give me the first shot to buy it. And he said, okay. And I would pass by here and there because I'm from the same neighborhood. You know, we're from next door. You got a food spot, you know. And I would always pass by and say, what's up, you know, and hey, you ready? He's like, no, not yet, I'll let you know. And 15 years later, it caught me off guard, man. I passed by just to get some bags of ice, you know, and he saw me and he said, oh, wait. And he went outside and he said, hey, I remember you telling me since you were a kid, man, you know, you were interested in the shop. You know, you still looking to buy a shop. And when as he's saying that, I'm like, I'm starting to shake. I'm like, nah, could it be? And I'm like, yeah, I'm still, you know, I was still. He said, well, I'm ready to give it, you know, I'm ready to, I don't want to run it no more. I want to stay cutting hair, but you know, and I was like, man, that day, man, it's like a dream come true, you know? So
rumor has it, and I won't mention the name of this superintendent, they used to give this superintendent a hard time when he was an assistant principal, is that right?
Correct. But pretty much.
He wasn't a perfect type dude.
Yeah, nah, man. You know, like I said, I was born here, obviously, but you know, after a couple years, you know, things happened, and my parents split up. You know, and that broken home, that broken home, man, caused a wildfire in my brain. You know what I mean? And it kind of threw me off. It threw me off track, man, and. I would act the fool, you know, growing up, you know, in the school system, stuff like that, and it's, you know, it was hurtful because at the time, I guess, most teachers, they gave up on me instead of realizing, you know, that then there might be a problem somewhere at home, you know, there's something, you know what I mean, and maybe they didn't. It's like they didn't get to identify the, you know, why. They just let it be, you know, and as that superintendent, you know, imagine. It happened to be, you know, he was in the school. He was one of the assistant principals, and man, I was in his office a lot, let me tell you.
So the programs that you had, were there programs in the schools that helped you stay off the streets, or like how did you guide to say, hey, I'm gonna go through this school, get my certification, stuff like that? Well,
so actually in my elementary, the principal at the time, you know, he told me he said some harsh words, man, and he had told my mom, he guaranteed my mom that at 16 I'd be thrown out of the school system. you know, and at 25, I'll be dead or in jail. He guaranteed that, you know, he made my mom cry. You know, and I'll never forget that. And I was 12 years old. Later on, I make it to high school. I failed my 10th grade. I failed the 10th grade.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, you know what? I was already starting to cut hair, and I was like, man, I just want to be a barber. That's all I really wanted to be, was a barber.
Yeah.
You know, so I told my mom, look, I want to give up on school. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm just gonna continue with this career. You know, I like cutting hair, Mom. That's what I want to be. You know, I don't want nothing to do with the school system. You know, I don't. And she was like, for real? She was like, you're not gonna graduate from high school? And I was like, nah, forget about that. You know, I'm telling you, trust me, there's a lot of money to be made in being a barber. And she said, damn, so it looks like that principal in elementary was right. Because he said at 16, you weren't going to be in the school system. When she said that, it went right back. I said, oh, wait a minute.
So it clicked.
So I stayed in school to graduate, you know, just to prove them wrong.
Did you have mentors in school like that, like to help guide you through? When you get into high school and all that stuff? Or?
Yeah, once we got to in middle school, there was a teacher named Chantel Osborne, and now she's a principal. You know, she actually, not too long ago, was principal of the year in the state of Florida.
Really?
You know? Yeah. And she never gave up on me, man. And also when I got to high school, another teacher named Malcolm Elmore, Mr. Malcolm Elmore. Mm-hmm. You know, those two right there
were
a big part of my life, man. Why I didn't give up, you know.
Are they still principals here in this city?
Well, Mr. Elmore's retired.
Okay.
Mr. Elmore's retired from the school board system, but Ms. Osborne, she's still rocking and rolling.
All right.
You know?
So tell me a little bit more. Like what else? So you get through school, you get your certifications, you become a barber for a couple of years, you start opening up stuff. Now you do a lot of stuff in the community, from what I hear. Is that true?
Yeah, man. You know, I can't forget about my our neighborhood.
Yeah, that's right. So tell us a little bit. What are the things you kind of do in the community?
We're highly involved in the community. We do a book bag drive. We give out turkeys when it comes to, around turkey time, and then at the end of the year, towards Christmas, we give out toys, man, to the listeners. Yeah.
So what would you say is the things like, if you got kids out there just listening, or just people in general, because there's a couple of things you have going on for you. One, you got through school, you got certified, you're an entrepreneur doing exceptionally well, right? Like, what are some things you would say, hey, if I knew this before, we call it unlearn. If that was something I had to unlearn at a younger age that I could have told my younger self, what would that be?
I guess once you like they say, try to pursue your passion. Yeah. You know what I mean? But unlearn, I was like, damn, I told myself at one point, man, I don't need all this algebra to cut hair, and I know I need to know the numbers and all that measurements and all that, but there were certain things that, that I figured that, what I wanted to be in life, I didn't need to learn it, but I guess, every system has its way of.
So what would be the things you think they should learn? I mean, from what you're doing right now.
Say it again.
What would be the things you think you should learn from all the stuff that you're doing now?
That I should learn?
Yeah. Because you're in the real world, right? You're an entrepreneur, you're doing some big stuff. So what would be the things you say, hey, if I could tell folks to learn this, what I would tell them to check out for kids?
Well, definitely once they become a teenager, start trying to learn a little bit of finance and stuff like that, how the credit system works, because you're going to need that, especially when, open up a business, things like that.
Is anybody you're mentoring in those spaces? Or?
Actually, I also do career days in school. Okay. And I go out there to the schools, I go to barber schools, and I pretty much give them my expertise, what I've been through and my knowledge,
Okay. Yeah, man. Listen, it looked like you're pushing pretty hard. I'm gonna ask you a couple more questions specifically around just your thought around things that happen in Hialeah and stuff like that. So let's see how this works out. Look, let me let you line me up so you don't mess up with my head, because I have a missus pretty upset with me about my face.
There's a few people, obviously, that played a big role in my life, you know what I mean? From those teachers I told you about, seeing my mama, do it on her own with 4 kids, you know what I mean?
That's tough.
Having 2 jobs, stuff like that. My brothers had to take care of me. My sister actually took care of me while.
So you grew up in a home with how many brothers and sisters?
It's 4 of us in total.
4, and you're the what?
I'm the baby.
You're the baby, so you the spoiled one, man? Are you the spoiled one?
No, there was nothing to spoil, boy. My big brothers gave me that.
What's your mom's name?
Hialeah.
Hialeah, is he spoiled? Dude, so what's the age difference between your brothers and sisters?
So my oldest brother is 13 years older than me.
Okay.
My other brother, my second brother is 11, and my sister's 9 years.
Okay. And how many now the kids are in the same space or in the school system here as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Both of them are. I got two kids actually.
Okay.
Married with 2 kids.
Okay. And they're also. Do you think anybody's gonna be a barber like you, or?
Well, my oldest, he's 16. He's a junior. And he's cutting hair. He's cutting hair right now. But what he wants to be a lawyer. But at least, 'cause I told him, look, at least learn the trade.
Man,
that way you could.
Barbering is way more fun, man.
So yeah, he wants to do it in the meantime. So like a little part-time job. He's doing it now. He cuts up his friends and stuff like that. He can't work at the shop,
Yeah.
But he does it, just for the fun of it right now, and then so he can learn. I would like him to at least learn how to run the business, so just in case in the future when it's, time.
Do you think it's important, like, for kids to learn how to run businesses as early as possible?
I think before, how do I put it to you? Before, from my point of view, and what I've been through, my story, I guess it would be a good idea to learn first whatever you're going to get into.
Yeah.
Because, for example, just right now, we win a scratch off and win a nice $1 million, and you can go open up a plumbing company, but if you don't know nothing about plumbing, how you gonna, so I would say at least learn the trade, learn what the business you want to get into, so you don't lose your money, so you don't mismanage your money, lose your money and invest in something that you don't know nothing about.
It's interesting. School systems right now in the United States are having this fight between, do a kid go to college, or does a kid go get a certification, or what they should learn, not learn? You pick a city, this is the same debate all over the place, right? As somebody who's like on the ground, doing work, connecting with the community, doing all that stuff, what do you think about that?
And there's, how do I put it to you? It's like, it's sad, like, I feel bad for those that go to school, go get a degree and stuff like that, and then they get out and they can't even
find a job
in what they do. Now they're in debt. They're getting all this money for the loans and stuff like that. So, and it all comes down to doing your research on what you want to do. And make sure especially when it comes down to numbers. You want to see what what the needs are for something. I would say.
So tell me a little bit about. You said that your mom and dad separated, right?
Yeah.
You was with your mom, and you started to talk about you trying to figure out your way, right?
Yeah.
What did you need from people or from the school, or what did you need from who to help you navigate? Like, if you could think about what that be, what would that be? Because did you do that on your own, or did you reach out yourself? What did you do?
Nah, pretty much just watching my mama struggle, man, and and there was days, and there was Christmases that there weren't, there was not even a tree, because it was rough times, what I mean? A lot of all the clothes I had was hand-me-down clothes from family members, what I mean? So, I said, damn, I got to do something. That was the thing. I said, damn, I want to buy stuff. I would like to have stuff, but my mom can't afford it, and she got. I remember getting only like 2 haircuts a year, 3 haircuts a year.
Oh, wow.
The beginning of school, maybe towards like the Christmas break to come back,
Yeah.
And then like that one time, maybe in the summer, right before school again. So it was a rough childhood. But you know what? Those are the things that molded me to be the man I am today. You know what I mean? They helped me.
So you said that if you could tell folks around, kids need to learn about credit. Tell us a little more of that.
Because if you really notice, it all comes down to numbers. You need a job. You need a job because you're gonna need it to provide. To pay your bills. Pay your overhead. Like what they call. You know what I mean? The main things you need in life. It's money ain't everything, but it's connected to everything. It's very important, especially. So if I go back, I would like. One thing that I think the school system should work on is that, the like teach these kids, how important about the credit, about, having credit, how to build credit. Open up a bank account, to show them how to manage it, try to teach them how to manage their money better, because a lot of people are in debt, man. A lot of people, it's like they're chasing their own tail.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
and then they get out of school, they go to school, they get they go for this degree like we were talking about, they go get this degree, and then they're in debt, you know what I mean? They don't know, they don't know what to do, they can't get a job, so.
What was the first couple of things you had to learn when you opened up your business that you're like, man, I wish I knew, specifically with the financial literacy part? Like, did you have to learn how to get loans? Did you have to learn how to balance a book? What was your things?
The balancing the books at the beginning, because it's the first couple of years were losses.
Yeah,
you're learning. It's everything in life is you live and learn.
Yeah. And what else would you say from there? What else did you have to go and learn to kind of do that? And the reason I'm asking this is because I'm trying to figure out, like, if we had to talk to folks and say, here's the things that you should be teaching these kids around financial literacy, here's specifically what you should focus on, what would that be? What was your experience? When you came in, you looked at the books, you said, I want to open up a shop. What did you do?
Yeah, I had to learn, because I went from cutting hair, I was just a barber. I was just an employee at another barbershop, you know what I mean, for almost nearly 15 years.
Yeah.
And all I had to do was one thing, was just go to work, cut hair, clean up, and pay my rent, and pay my chair at the end of the week.
And you put money right in the bank too and stuff like that?
Yep.
And so how did you start thinking about the numbers? I mean, because you built a business now, so.
Yeah. We're putting away a little bit, a little bit of money every day, a little $20 a day, it goes a long way, 15 years later, you know what I mean?
You think, I heard you say you thought that, you think that kids need to learn that more, right?
Correct.
So tell me a little bit more about that. What do you mean they need to learn that more?
Mind you, I graduated from school, it's gonna be 25 years ago, and from what I can remember, they never taught us at that time finance and stuff like that. So I don't know now if they have it in the school. I've heard there's schools, but there are different type of schools, high-end schools and whatever, high-end schools that cost a lot of money to put your kid in, but I would like to see that type of stuff more in the Dade County public school system.
Hey, man.
Is Robert.
How's it going, man?
You getting all trimmed up there, man?
Yes, sir. We're asking questions. We got you next. It's our team right here, sir.
Nice.
And my dream was to buy this location. I could have bought it in a shop.
Okay.
I couldn't have bought it in a shop somewhere else.
Yeah.
It was just is that like, how do I say it, the infatuation, the dream of opening it literally in the same neighborhood where I was born and raised, a block away,
So when did you find like the biggest challenge? When you say, okay, I got this dream, I want to buy this place, what was like the big thing? You're like, dang, I got to figure this out.
Yeah, no, well, it was just waiting for the old man to retire. It took, because I could have had it a lot younger. Yeah. But I'm sure at that time, God's timing is perfect.
Did you have to have some money on the side, get a loan? Did you have to do anything?
Not really, to be honest with you.
Okay, so,
I did have to sell my toy, my convertible.
Yeah.
I had a convertible 1975 Caprice.
Yeah.
So I had to sell that to make the ends meet of the deal that I made with the Pops.
Did you put a business plan together or anything like that?
Not really, my brother. To be honest with you, just like when I went at, so I winged it, man. When I tell you, but like I opened this up without knowing nothing about business, brother. I just knew that I had to come up with $900 of rent, $250 of the light bill and the water, that, and then from because I didn't know none of that. I didn't go to barber school. I didn't go to business school. I didn't study business.
Yeah. So what would you say you would tell, like, if they had to learn this in high school, if the kids needed to learn in high school, they had the same dream you had, what would be the things you say, they should be thinking about teaching these kids how to do this, this, and this? What would that be? So they got a dream like you, they want to open up a shop. What do you think they should be trying to teach?
It all depends, man. It's, how do I put it to you? To open up a business, you need money.
You need money.
How you gonna have them? You gotta work. You gotta work to save the money. It's just, and like I said earlier, it's just getting into something that you don't know nothing. I would think, since I didn't go to, man, when I tell you I winged it. I winged it. All I knew how to do was cut hair and make it happen, And then just that opportunity came. Pops,
Yeah.
the pop, it was.
It was also the sacrifices and the passion. You're not giving yourself enough credit. But when all those people were out there hanging out with their boys and you were here grooming up, like I see your videos at night,
Yeah.
toilets.
Yeah.
That's how you got here.
Yeah.
That's your business plan.
Yeah.
That's you. That's the one that actually made it happen. I think the biggest thing that schools need to teach to kids nowadays is the importance of sacrificing and putting in the time. Nobody's gonna hand you anything. Nobody handed you the barbershop.
Yeah.
You had to earn it.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, you took over the barbershop and you had to come up with the rent. You had to come up with the light bill. You have a responsibility to keep these seats working every single day.
Yeah.
And you got to bring people in to get haircuts without then forgetting the community either, which is something that you always do.
And you got a staff.
Yeah.
Right, so you have salary or whatever the model is you got. That's all under financial literacy. How did you know you needed a mentor or somebody to guide you? Because that's what you did, right?
Nah, man, I didn't even know what that was. Growing up, until my mentor was my big one of my brothers.
Okay.
But it was just like I just wanted to be like him because he was the cool brother and he was a street brother. So you know how it is when you're young.
He had his own version of hustling to figure out how to get around stuff.
Yeah, one of my brothers went, the whole went to school, degree, all that, and then the other brother dropped out early, was the cool guy.
So your brother helped you to kind of navigate a little bit, or?
Well, they were strict on me, So I had a bookworm brother.
Yeah.
I call it a bookworm, by the books, and then the other one teaching me.
Everybody in the family got one person that's doing something the other one doing. It's funny as I listen to your story. I don't think you give yourself enough credit. Because when I look at your stuff, you have a lot going on, right? I was just thinking about when you talked about you had a dream, you put a plan together. Tell me if you could tell me a little bit, what was your process, would you say, that you went through when you were trying to figure out, I want to get this place, I want to do this, I want to do that. So how did you go find out what to do?
Once I found out that the pops that sold me the shop, once he told me, hey, look, believe it or not, that's when I said, wait a minute, now what is it I'm gonna need? What licensing am I gonna need for the location, stuff like that, and it's not. There's a few. It's not a lot. It's not that many. It's about 3 licenses in total, Sydney County and the state. But and then from there, man, I just winged it all the way. I said, okay, how much is the rent? I asked the old man, what's the average light bill come every month? And what else?
Because so you were writing everything down.
So he helped me. He helped me in that aspect because he was like, look, these are the bills that I pay here. This is the rent. This is the light, the average, and then the water. And then from there, and then obviously the expenses of the products, whatever products, I buy and from there, I'm just rocking and rolling. I'm not gonna lie, when you first open up a business, like I knew the cutting hair aspect of it, but I didn't know how to manage the business part of my career of being a barber.
What I hear you saying is the schools should be thinking about helping the kids figure out building a business process. Is that right? Or a business plan or something like that?
That would help. Like I said, I graduated many years ago. I don't know if it's in play now, but like the financial literacy part, it goes also with that hand in hand.
What would you say was the hardest thing that you had to learn as an entrepreneur, like a business person? What was the hardest thing that you had to figure out?
How to run the business correctly.
Tell me more about that.
Because I felt like I realized that in my barber career before I opened up, I realized that the barber game, it went sour. It turned very. It was like very urban, and it lost that old school vibe. What it really meant, what it used to be. You know what I mean? From a place, a family place, a place to relax. Come. It's a spa for a man. To come relax, read the newspaper. And growing up, working in different shops, I worked in urban shops. Where you had rap music, you had you know, like barbers putting on the boxing gloves, you know, and that's not professional, you know what I mean? So I said, you know what, when it's my turn, I'm gonna bring it back. You know, obviously, half my team, you know, well, right now, pretty much, one guy's a little older than me. He's about 50 years old, you know, 49 years old. I'm the second old, and everybody's in the 20s, you know, the young cats, you know, but because the new generation of barbers come up, you know. But yeah, so I wanted to bring it back, you know what I mean? Bring it back to what it once was.
And how do you guys share, like, this is a shop? What's your marketing stuff? What do you guys do in marketing?
Yeah, so we hit all the social media platforms, you know what I mean? Pass out flyers for the first 4 years when I opened up, man. I'll pass out 10,000 flyers every month. You know, I had them at the light. You know, I had guys passing them out at the light. There's a lot of apartment buildings, you know, around here. So I'll go myself, man. I'll pick, you know, 1-2 days out of the week and go, you know, pass out flyers and stuff like that. You know, pretty much. Then see, that's the thing. I went from just learning, I just cut hair to then, damn, I'm actually going to open up the barbershop. Then I had to learn how that business, how that went. I winged it. I didn't go to business school, you know, to learn that. You know what I mean? I didn't study business. You know, I got it out the mud. You know what I mean? Like they say.
The shop's been open for how many years now?
So actually, yesterday made 15 years that this shop's been open, man.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
You know, in the American government, they say, I think the business got to survive 2 years before they even give you some type of extra money to even keep it going. So I got some stats I'll share with you with some stuff you got going on. Right. So Laz, before we get to the next segment, I want to ask you a question. So what would you tell your 7th grade self?
You know, stay in school, stay focused. Don't, you gotta block out all that extra noise. Be careful what type of music you listen to, because that's very important. Believe it or not, it's sad, but it's true. You wanna listen to people that are talking positive, doing positive stuff, helping out the community. You know, just helping others. You know, any way, shape, or form. In other words, giving a hand. You know, things like that, man. Stay focused, man. Follow your passion. You know, try to pick a path. If there's something you love, there's a good chance there's money to be made with it. You know, and then once you're doing what you love, you never work a day in your life. You know.
Did you ever get to a place where you had to stay around positive people to kind of help you process how to keep this going? Yeah, man. So, you know, growing up, you know, for those that don't, you know, some know, but those, you know, like the listeners out there, growing up in Miami, you know, in the teenage years, in the 90s, in the 80s and 90s, you know, it was really, really rough with the gangs and the drugs, you know, a lot of that, especially when you grew up in Section 8, you know, it's sad, but there's a lot of that, you know, there was a lot of that back then, you know, and you had to be careful. You don't, you know, because that's, especially coming from the broken home, you know, you get that warm, that, you know, you feel like that love, you're getting it in the streets, you know, which is all a lie. You know what I mean? The real love comes at home. You know what I mean? And that's where it's at. You know, you gotta stay focused. You know, pick some, try to be the best at it, and you know, and anything you want to be in life, trust me, you can be it. You know, you just got to put in that work. You know, and I go by an old phrase that says, you want it, you got to get it. You know? So what's your most proudest moment? What are you proud about?
My proudest moment? Man, it's just been blessed, man. You know, so many good things have came, you know, being an adult, you know, it's just, honest, the struggle, man. You know, from everything, from childhood, from the, you know, the broken home, from the poverty, all that, man. That's what helped me out be the man that I am today, to be honest with you, man. You know, it shaped me to be all my ups and downs with life, you know, all those, you know, not proud of them, but all those bad decisions I made back then, you know, it just made me realize, you know, it just molded me to be the, you know, that person I am today.
Well, I would argue you made good decisions too, because you're doing pretty well to me.
Yeah, man, you know, it's like I said, man, it's a blessing. God is great. Yeah. God is great.
And I know that one of the things that you're proudest about is your sons, and making sure your sons don't fall into the same struggle. And right now, your son actually goes to the same high school you went to.
Correct.
Gomez Senior High School. Right?
Correct.
And what has your life lesson helped you and talking to your son and knowing that you maybe had that void and how important it is for you now to fill that void for your son and make sure he doesn't have that void.
Yeah, exactly, man. I tell it, he doesn't. That's why I work so hard. That's why I work so hard to keep the family together. I work so hard to tell them that, look, you're not growing up. You're not growing up in the projects. You're growing up. You're in a home. You don't got to go out there and do things that there's no necessity for that. That's why I work hard to put in those extra hours, 60, 70 hours a week. Here at the barbershop, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning every Thursday and Friday. That's from 7 in the morning to 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. And I tell them, look, son, man, as long as you put in that work, your work right now is your studies. Pick some, and man, I'm blessed, man. The kid's in 11th grade, a junior, goes to the same school. Now he goes to the same school that I graduated from. Straight A student, principal's on the road every 9 weeks, and that to me, that's where I feel like I'm rich, and not with money, but in blessings.
And you're definitely blessed. I mean, not only do you have this shop, but I'm sure you talked about your other shop, right? And some of your future plans, because Lazarito's Barbershop doesn't end here. And I know that you have some big dreams ahead of yourself. And we talk about business planning, right? And a lot of times people go and they spend 4 to 6 to 8 years in these business schools.
That's right.
And come out with a large debt, but yet lack that want, right? The grit that you got in the streets that a lot of us pick up in the street that have now led you to have bigger dreams than even where you're at today. What are those dreams like? Because I know Lazarito's not over.
Yeah, no, it's just, and like I said, God works in mysterious ways, man. He's great. God is great. It's just what started off, I just want to learn how to cut hair, to one day I want to open up, because when I decided that I wanted to learn how to cut hair, I wasn't thinking of a barbershop. I wasn't thinking that far yet, and then it came, like, wait a minute. Now once I learned how to cut hair and I saw it's a lucrative, it's a demand. It's something, hair grows, you know what I mean? And
for some of us.
Yeah.
Exactly, for some of us.
Well, no, that's a style too, man. That's a style. But so, and then I went and I said, well, you know what? I want to open up a shop. And then after having this shop, for 8 years, a buddy of mine tells me, hey, Laz, man, can you come by my shop? He's a barber, and he owned the barbershop, and he like, can you come by so we can talk? And I was like, yeah, sure. Why, everything good? Yeah, I just want to, talk some stuff with you. I was like, all right, cool. So I went to go check him out, and he tells me, do you know anybody interested in buying a barbershop? And I'm like, nah, not right now. My barbers haven't told me nothing right now, from the barbers that I got. He's like, oh, well, because I'm interested in selling my shop. And I was like, why? He's like, oh, I'm going to go invest in another type of business, And I was like, oh, okay. And I said, well, he's like, come inside and check it out. And I was like, okay. So I went inside, and I'm like, I like what I see, but I don't like what I feel. And I'm like, this is weird, like that gut feeling, you walk in somebody for some apparent reason, you don't know what's wrong, what. So he's like, come inside, check it out. So that's how my moment started. I'm like, whoa, I like what I see, but I don't like what I feel. He's like, come on. So as I walk in his shop and I'm going further and further to the back, it's like Spider-Man when his spidey senses are going off, he knows something's wrong. So I'm walking and I'm looking around, so I'm trying to identify why I feel, what's going on. And I'm like, oh, this is what it is. So he had couches, house couches as waiting area, which there's nothing wrong with that, but man, everything has its place. And there's a barber laying down, each couch, there was a barber laid out with the feet up, passed out, the music volume at 95. The type of music was the opposite music of family, like, the type of music I put here, and so there's a lot of things going on, like, and I'm like, damn, no one, and as I'm leaving out, I'm starting to feel better and better. When I leave, I'm like, damn, oh, he's like, hey, let me know if, anybody wants to buy a shop, like, all right, I'll keep you in mind. And then when I get in the car, I'm like, bro, it's crazy. I like what I saw. Like, cause the roof is a lot higher than this one. It's just the layout, and I was like, but I didn't like how I felt, and I'm like, why? And I was like, oh, this, and I went right back into the cassette, and I'm like, the archive. I'm like, oh, because of this, the things, you know, that he was doing are the things that I'm against of bringing it, you know, that old school, you know, old school way of running a barbershop. And I went down and I'm like, wait a minute, if all my chairs are filled at my first one, I looked at the location and I did, how far is it from 1959, you know, this address to his address, and it's 2.2 miles, and it says 7 minutes. And I'm like, wait a minute, I got a clientele that maybe I can buy this shop. So I never in my life thought about having 2 shops until that moment right there. It's weird, it's like a gift, you know, like God or what, that it just happens just like that, you know what I mean? And I was like, wait a minute, I did a U-turn. And I came back and I said, come outside. And I said, I got an idea. I know somebody that's interested in your shop. He goes, for real?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah. So I go, without telling him it was me, I had to ask him some questions. So I tell him, what time, let me ask you some questions. What time do you usually open? He's like 9, 10 in the morning. Bang. That's already a red flag on my, you know, how I do, you know. And, oh yeah, blah. He's telling me, oh, what days do you, I'm like, he's like, yeah, we're closed on Sundays. So me, bang, I'm open 7 days. You know, so I'm like, you know what, there's a lot of things that he's doing. I mean, to each his own, it's his business. You can run your business however you want, but I'm like, wait a minute. So I go to him, man, it's me, I'm thinking about, he's like, for real? I'm like, yeah, can you give me a key? And he's like, what do you mean give you a key? And I say, yeah, because this Saturday, my first one is at 7. Look, I already got 12 people for Monday.
Oh, wow.
You know, it was a Saturday that I went to go see him. I said, on Monday, I got already, you know, all these people I got to cut up, and I start at 7 in the morning. He's like, and he's looking at me weird, like not answering. I'm like, brother, we're cool, and I'm not gonna take nothing. I need to work here for a week. I would like to cut hair here for a week, because it's more than just cutting hair. Then that's where I've learned that it's the logistics, the area, you know, how much is the rent, you know, if it's at 3%, 4%, 5%, it goes up. See, all these things though, I learned, you know, years later, you know what I mean?
So you would say those are the things that kids should probably need to learn in school?
Yep. Yeah, those are very important things to learn when you're going to open up a business. You know, because some people go and they'll invest all they got, you know, into a business without knowing, you know, the parking lot. The major thing is a parking lot. Like for a barber, for example, there's no parking, there's no business. How people are going to come and park? And, you know, like there's certain shopping centers that only have a amount of parking spaces. Well, each of them do have that, but how am I going to be able to, you know, have so many 12 barbers cutting hair, 12 getting a haircut, and at least 8, 10 waiting? You know, we're looking at 30 parking spaces at the time. So I asked him all those questions, and he was like, okay. He gave me the key. When I went and opened up that shop on Monday morning, nobody swept. Nobody threw away the garbage. Nobody. And I'm like, this is where the bad vibe that I was getting. It was just my gut feeling was like, that something's wrong. These are all things that are very important. A parent, a mom comes in with 2 kids, loud music, can't even hear a conversation, profanity, you know, Barber showing his underwear from his shorts being sold down, you know, so although that got lost, you know, the old school, it got lost, you know, that's why if you noticed when you guys came earlier, saw everybody with pants, remember? Everybody had the red shirt, because every day is a different color shirt, there's no hat a lot, you know, I brought it back, you know, like that old school family vibe.
Yeah, well, it was packed.
It was, you know, for a Sunday, you know, and Sunday, you know, a lot of shops are closed. So those are things that I took notes when I was going to open up the shop. But in my world, what are they not doing? You know what I mean?
We're proud of you, brother.
I appreciate you, man. Appreciate you.
Well, we're going to come back and talk to Roberto Alonso, the man on the other side of the coin who looks at community stuff, and we appreciate you, man. We'll keep talking to you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
for
man.
having me.
Unlimited.